Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight I've got a bit of a special video for you guys. I'm going to give you guys 3 examples of Montana, which I ended up recording like 6 games in the Montana the other day because I wanted to give you guys some good examples of just, you know, how to properly use the Montana. It is one of those ships that irritates the crap out of me when I hear everybody saying how bad it is. So I'm going to teach you guys how to Montana. And yeah, I'm gonna specifically be making references to my good buddies Peak and Aaron as 2 primary examples of good players who hate the Montana for reasons that make no sense whatsoever. So, with that being said, let's take a look at our commander. Right off the bat, we're running William Sims. Nothing special there. We do run Azure Lane Scharnhorst, so if you don't have Scharnhorst, you may go Cunningham or choose something else. Maybe, you know, any sort of perk where maybe you get better heals or something along those lines. Whatever your preference is. Cunningham obviously is the one that increases your shell grouping, so that would help your accuracy a little bit, though not as much as Scharnhorst, because Scharnhorst actually affects the overall dispersion of the shells, whereas Cunningham affects the grouping. So Cunningham affects how close the shells stay to one another, and Scharnhorst affects the overall size of the circle that the shells can land in. Okay? So Scharnhorst is the better option, if you have her. If you don't, then go with what you enjoy. The other option that I highly recommend is Palo de Revel. Getting your reload a little bit faster will catch so many people off guard that it's actually insane. There's a reason I've been running Palo de Revel on like every battleship since I discovered him. Like, honestly, ever since they brought Palo de Revel into the game, like, I initially slept on him. But being able to reload your guns just a little bit faster, you'll be surprised how often that comes in handy and catches people off guard. So, just my personal preference. But other than that, everything is the normal things that you would expect out of a dispersion build. We're running Flammable Cannoneer. I know, in this day and age, with all the fire spam, how dare I run Flammable Cannoneer? Well, it's simple. Main battery range and shell grouping, though you do end up with catching fire a lot more. But let's be honest, even if you don't run this, say you run not one for the nuisance, you're still going to be lit on fire almost as often as if you were running this. At least in my experience. I don't have RNG in this game. Y'all know this. If I choose this perk instead of this, first of all, it reduces our range, which really bites you in the butt in this game because everything has the capability of outranging you if you don't run a range perk on a battleship. But gyrating drill bits, obviously, that does slow your speed down, obviously, but it also increases your traverse speed, so it allows your guns to be where you need them, and it also increases your AP shell damage, which comes in handy when you're throwing 12 American armor-piercing Freedom Seeds downrange, and you want as much damage as possible, especially when farming those superstructures that we love. Then we've got marksmanship. Again, dispersion of the main battery makes the ship overall more accurate, so clearly that's what you want. And reaching out XXL, once again, gives you that extra range. Do not ever run Emergency Specialist. But Spartan, why not? Because it takes your cooldown for your damage control immunity or invulnerability period. It cuts it by 70%. So you almost certainly will get set on fire as soon as you damage con. Because instead of having like 30 seconds of invulnerability, you have like 7 seconds. It's absurd. Anybody who takes this perk does not know what they're doing. Because it always backfires. Yeah, you get your damage con back 30% faster, but if you're burning 3 times before you get your damage con back, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good, does it? Which, obviously, you know, you might decide to run Fight Fire with Fire, and with this build, it wouldn't be the worst idea, because, again, we have the increased fire chance. You're in a big ship that's hard to maneuver for most people, so getting out of the way of the shells is a thing. The only reason I still run Will to Rebuild is because, while it may not help you in every battle, when it does help you, it is incredibly broken, and anybody who says it isn't has no idea what they're talking about. There's a reason it's called Skill to Rebuild. This will literally carry a match for your team if you're able to abuse it. Just say it. Now, with that out of the way, we'll look at our build. There's nothing special here. We're running AA Mod 2 because we want to have that extra ability to shoot down planes, because as we get into the legendary aircraft carrier period, we need the ability to shoot down planes as quickly as possible. Okay? Then, of course, I run steering gear mod 2. Why do I do this? Because I need to steer. A big ship goes slow turn, okay? You need that a little bit of agility to be able to maneuver this ship properly, and it allows you in those situations that we're going to talk about later to angle and get your armor, make use of the amazing belt armor. This thing has the best belt armor in the game, okay? We're going to need to use it. It's up to the commander to take advantage of it. Obviously, we are running concealment system mod as well. Being spotted from 15.3 kilometers, not ideal. So being spotted from 13.8, much better. Allows you to get those early turns off, get those guns ready, get angling away so that when you do fire, you take minimal damage coming back. And then, of course, we have artillery plotting room, the American specialist, the absolutely, you have to have this. And I know a while back I said that it might be broken, but no, I've since retracted that. It is definitely not. Use this perk on your American battleships. You won't regret it. Okay, so with all of that, we need to now go. I'm not going to worry about the stats. You guys know the stats. We don't need to go over the stats. We've already done Meethas. We've done, well, I guess we haven't done a path to the Montana, but it doesn't matter. We've done the Meethas. You guys know what the stats of this ship is. What we are going to focus on is the armor. Now, everybody in this game has an issue with the fact that the Montana and every other battleship except for FDG and Grosser first has a 32 millimeter bow. Oh my god, it's only 32 millimeters. Yami can punch right through it. So what do you do to circumnavigate the fact that a freaking Yami can overmatch your bow? You get him to shoot somewhere else. It's that simple. I don't understand why so many people struggle with this concept. It really is. How many times have I over the years mentioned lifting the skirt? You think I'm just saying that for the fun of it? No, you entice them to fire where you want them to fire. And look at the belt armor on this thing. Have you ever seen that good a belt armor? Ever? No, you haven't. But Spartan, what about the GK? Okay, let's check out the GK, shall we? Armor. Look at the GK. Does it have purple? No, it's red. While red is still very, very effective, it's not purple, which means Montana better. I know, I'm being facetious, obviously. There are definitely perks to being in the GK versus the Montana, and I've never said that the Montana is the best legendary tier battleship. I just say that I prefer it over other legendary tier battleships because of its consistency, because that is a personal preference for me. I prefer consistency. So, 32 millimeter bow and deck, you guys know this. Any Yami, any Musashi goes straight through, butter, 20,000 damage every time. You're going to have a bad day. So what you need to do is forget that it even exists. Treat it like this. It is no armor, right? The bow has no armor. So treat it as such. Open the angle. Show them the belt. Show them the upper side plating. Because guess what? The upper side plating is pretty good too. Let's look at it. So you have the casemate armor. It is 38 millimeters. What does that mean? That means Yami does not overmatch it. Which means if you angle properly, Yami goes bonk, donk, 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 donk. Just like every other ship. It's a fantastic thing when you learn how to use your side armor properly. And below that, forget about it. Below that, you have 409 millimeter of armor. That's essentially like turret faceplate armor, okay? And everybody who's ever shot at turrets knows what happens when you hit that angled faceplate armor. Because guess what? The side armor is also angled on the Montana. Right out the gate. It's angled. Funny how that works, isn't it? So, as long as you use your side armor properly, you will bounce, auto-bounce, and shatter more shells than will ever pin you. The only exception is in the upper deck and the superstructure. As always, American and German battleships have gigantic look at the size of the superstructure of this thing. It accounts for roughly 1/3 of the entire top of the battleship. That's crazy. okay? It's a little less than 1/3. We'll call it 1/4 of the entire top of the battleship. But that's still a huge amount. Why is that important? A, it has a lot of hit points allocated to it, meaning it takes longer for people to actually oversaturate your superstructure, reducing their damage output towards you while you're in a favorable angled position. However, it also means that shells coming through at the bow or the stern have so much more superstructure to pass through that they tend to arm before they overpin and get out of the ship. So if they arm and they detonate, then you get hit with big hits. And that's what we see with any of the German battleships, any of the American battleships. Like, you should know by now that your superstructure is going to get shredded. It is your biggest weak point on your ship, bar none. Okay? So keep that in mind. You can't angle your superstructure enough to get it to help you out. Unless, of course, you're flat broadside, in which case you got bigger problems on your hand, because, as we've already discussed, Citadel, massive. This is a very long ship, and it has a very long citadel. Now, the good news is it's protected. It's below water, which means the only time you really need to worry about getting citadeled is from plunging fire, from range, or if you're turning your ship towards the enemy, because then what you're effectively doing is you're pulling that citadel out of the water. Because your ship will roll away from the side that you're turning towards. It's literally the law of inertia, folks. It doesn't get any easier than that. As you turn towards, the ship turns or rolls away, which raises that side out of the water and allowing greater access to your citadel. So, with all of that in mind, we are going to show you 3 back-to-back-to-back games in the Montana that are going to absolutely show you how to play this ship in a lot of different situations, and I really hope that you guys enjoy, because personally I enjoy the ship. I know that a lot of you guys have struggled with it. I know that there's a lot of good players that say that it's trash, but if you play this ship properly, you will be rewarded. And with that, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we have 3 matches for you guys, and I hope that this helps bring a little bit of clarity to the Montana and backs up my claims that I still think that this thing is a fantastic ship. It is not hot garbage like some people would have you believe, because not every ship is a Yamato that has the ability to overmatch everything and just point and click and does 1,000,000 damage per salvo. Not everything is super agile and able to dodge everything that comes its way. You've got to use your head, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle in World of Warships Legends. Now, don't get me wrong. If push comes to shove and you are putting 2 of the same tier commanders, and by that I mean the people actually sailing the ship, you put 2 super unis, one in the Montana, one in the Yamato, you put them head to head, the Yami should win that fight. And the reason being, Yami has more hit points. Yami also has the ability to overmatch, meaning at different angles, the Yami is going to be able to get more damage than the Montana. Montana's really only course of action against the Yami is try to close the gap, get to the broadside, and delete it. That is your goal. In order to make that happen, you got to use your terrain, you got to use angling, bait them into using the belt armor that we already talked about, how fantastic the belt armor is in this thing. If you do that, you can close the gap on even Yamis really easily. Now, this Montana is going to show us the weakness of a Montana, and he's going to make the dumbest turn he could possibly make after he was already shot and spotted, and we're going to take full advantage of that. Now, remember, it has a citadel that's below water. However, plunging fire, as we just demonstrated, is absolutely devastating. But, more on to that, we hit 9 out of our 12 shells, and absolutely removed all of his hit points. He's fortunate that he only got citadeled twice, because anymore, he's dead. Like, it's just over. We left him with nothing. And you can see I'm paying attention. I'm waiting. I even slowed down here initially to try to, like, look and see if I could potentially get a shot on him if he was going to get spotted, because we have a DD right there in the middle of the map. I was hoping that DD would spot the Montana again so we can finish him off. DD decides to go towards the center, or go towards Bravo here, and that's going to keep us from being able to do anything. Now, there is a prolific destroyer player on on the enemy team here in the name of Black Priest. Black Priest is one of those people who I'm fairly confident calls himself one of the greatest destroyer captains on the planet. He has every advantage against the enemy Shima, or our friendly Shima. He has a daring, he has sonar, he has smoke screens, he has the ability to ruin the Shima. However, the one thing he doesn't have is room to maneuver, and with 15 demon fish heading your direction, even with sonar active, it's very difficult to dodge if you're not moving. So while he tries to get into a smoke screen, he's inevitably going to end up dead. And it's not actually the Shima in front of him that gets him. It's the one that's behind him. The guy that's off in front of me that's going to catch him with a torpedo and end his suffering in this game really, really early. And this just proves the importance of paying attention. And I'm not saying anything negative about Black Priest or anything. We know he's a good destroyer captain. There's no, disproving that. I'm not trying to. Everybody has these moments where you goof up and you don't see it. You get tunnel visioned on trying to finish off the Shima that's in front of you, and you get finished by a torpedo that you didn't see coming from behind. We've all been there. It's nothing out of the ordinary. Just funny that when it happens to good players. Especially in a match where we're going to end up recording it because we have a ridiculously good game as well. But yeah, so right off the bat, you might be going, well, Spartan, you started off so strong, 80,000 damage in no time, but now you've done nothing. Well, look at what I'm doing now. The only person left on this side is the FDG that's running away. He's all the way to the back of the map, and he's running away from us. So instead of going out there, we're going to turn in, and we're going to go into the Bravo cap, try to help get an assist cap here, finish capping this base as quickly as possible, and put ourselves in a position to intercept the rest of the enemy team. And while it does take a little bit of time to do that, because remember, we're not the fastest thing on the ocean. It's not slow, but we're not fast. So, like, it takes time. And I think they actually get the base capped before we get into it, so we don't even get an assist cap for this. You can see I am looking at potentially helping with the Shima here. Can't lob the island. They don't need my help anyway. But our Shima gets the base cap. We're going to move forward. Now we're looking at switching our guns to the left side of the ship so that we can shoot at this Frederick de Grossa. Frederick de Grossa is just sitting there stationary because he has nothing better to worry about, right? He knows he's spotted. He knows there's a destroyer likely coming around to ruin him. Yet he does not move until I shoot him. Now you might go, well, if that's the case, Spartan, maybe you shouldn't have shot at him and he would have been fine. But I'm not the only one shooting at him, and the only reason he moved forward wasn't because he saw my shells coming, is that somebody else was shooting at him and they got lit up. We didn't get lit up. But again, we're about to showcase the fantastic accuracy that is the Montana, and he's going to have to turn in to use the island as cover. So we take another shot. We do get spotted this time, and look at these shells. Again, we're not aiming for belt here. We're actually aiming high, upper side plating, and superstructure, and we get the Citadel, because even turtleback armor at long range, it's completely negated by plunging fire. So keep that in mind. Now here, we're going to switch around. We're going to get our rear guns to fire here before he gets too far behind the mountain that we won't be able to shoot him. And then we're going to use the front guns, because we know we can't shoot that guy again, to go ahead and shoot at the Grossa Curve first. Wait a second. You can shoot at 2 separate targets? Oh my god. I know. It's crazy. Paying attention to the map and seeing who's within your little circle of range and planning, okay, if I shoot my rear guns here, he's going to be behind the island. My front guns are about to be loaded. Who can I shoot then? And being able to reach out and touch them keeps your guns effective for longer. Now, obviously, Grossa Curve first, running away. We take and fire the rear guns at him, and we're still looking on the left side of us, checking where the Frederick de Grossa is before we fire our next shot. And once again, we chunk that superstructure. He's angled away from us, so you can see when we do hit any sort of armor, it's going to be shattering and bouncing. We know that that's going to be a thing. We don't overmatch, right? 16-inch guns at this tier don't overmatch crap. Just like playing the Borgonia. A lot of people are like, whoa, Spartan, the Borgonia's amazing. I'm not going to mention any names, but certain people are like, Spartan, the Borgonia's amazing, but the Montana is hot garbage. Now, why would you say that? Why would you go Borgonia amazing and Montana garbage? They have a lot of the similarities and a lot of, like, of the same struggles at the tier. So I don't understand why you like one and not the other. You would think if you like one, you would like the other. Okay? Now, personally, I prefer Montana over Borgonia. I feel like it's a lot more effective. It's got more hit points. It's got a lot going for it. It's got better armor. the Montana, in my opinion, is superior to the Begonia. Plus, I'm not spamming HE every time trying to hit people, because American Armor Piercing actually can pen some pretty crazy angles. So, when we have looks at broadside opponents, rather than fire here, look at what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here making my turn, trying to get the shot laid in. I'm completely invisible. There was no rush there, and as soon as I get a chance, notice the Montana was moving into our spear of spotting us. We take the shot, beautiful looking shot, center of mass, and 7 overpins into superstructure. You know, it's one of those things. He's turning. If any of those shells hit the belt, there's a good chance that they ricochet or bounce because of the impact. But once we get the shot on target, I mean, we still wreck him. I mean, that was 7 overpins. Even overpins, when you're doing 1,441 damage, like 7 overpins is still like, what, 9,000 damage, close to it. So, yeah, they still hurt is what I'm saying. And you can see another shot. He's over angle. We get a couple of penetrations on that shot. And they're moving into a position where they could potentially skill to rebuild each other. Notice that I'm not still engaging the FDG out there. Like, he's at the edge of my range. He's completely useless to his team. He may still be able to shoot me, so that's why I'm angling away from him a little bit. But you can see I'm going for the lower health target here. We're going for that superstructure once again. We should be able to finish off his hit points here with one more good shot to the superstructure, and we do just that. 4 full penetrations into the superstructure. And so that's what I'm talking about when you're bow in a ship like the American battleships or the German battleships. You make that superstructure very easy to get full penetrations on, and that's going to end poorly. Now here we see the Frederick de Gross is about to eat torpedoes, so we're not going to pull the trigger right away because he's probably going to die. And then that allows me to save my shot for this Marlborough, but unfortunately the game ends. So that's game number 1. A solid effort. A ridiculous opening salvo, or second salvo, and we get third on our team with 165,000 damage. For this next one, we're going to be on Haven, and this is going to be a game that, I say Haven, we're not on Haven. Haven is the one that I will show you guys next. This is Sleeping Giant, and we have a special guest on the team, none other than Final Boss. Final Boss is a member of the Wargaming development team for World of Warships Legends, so it was fun running into him just randomly out and about. Now, we are on Sleeping Giant, and just so happens, not only is Final Boss on our team, but he spawns right next to us in a Mino. So, at least I know that I'll have a little bit of support on this side of the map, potentially. So we're going to push ourselves out to the right. We spawn in the north to the right side, so we are going to go out, secure the flank, and make sure that we do what we have to do. Now, one of the things that I see people do wrong on most maps is that they run away from their side. They want to get to be with other people as quickly as possible. And this is something that you need to, like, rid yourself of in battleships. If you're leaving a flank in a battleship, you're doing your job wrong. The entire purpose of battleships is to punish broadsides. The way you punish those broadsides is by taking advantage of crossfires. If you keep following your team around the map, you are not creating those crossfires. You are, in fact, taking away crossfires because everybody can angle effectively against you and your entire team if you're all cluttered together. So, rather than running away from my side, I'm going to push to the edge. Now, Final Boss is going to actually do something pretty smart here. He's going to put himself in a position to cover the center of the cap. There are no destroyers in this match, okay? So, the only downside here is whether or not we will get spotting across the middle. Now, you can see I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. I'm checking what I'm up against, what could potentially be over here, and that sort of thing. This is the stuff that I think about at the beginning of the match. You can see Final's already waiting. This is a perfect firing angle on the enemy ships that spawn over a delta. However, because there are no destroyers, getting the spots in any sort of position where we will be able to take advantage of it is unlikely. So rather than stop and wait like I normally would here, I'm just going to keep going. There's no reason for me to stop and wait. I'm not as fast as these guys. If I completely come to a stop, by the time I get started again, you know, it's going to take that much longer to finish this flank. However, if we push forward, we've got to be aware that there are people that spawn directly across from us. I know you guys know by now that generally speaking, the games are, or the teams are divided in such a way that one side will be overmatched versus the other. And I'm not talking about guns overmatched. I'm talking about one side will have more ships than the other team. And it depends on how each team plays whether or not that works. And the way it's supposed to work is that the map ends up a nice little counter rotation. Either side, either team will have a push opportunity on the opposite side of the map. And what you end up with is people quickly, supposedly, running through their side of the map and getting crossfires on the other remaining ships who are, stuck against your team. That's the goal. That's the whole purpose of why the spawns are the way they are. It is by design. They want this to happen because this keeps the game moving forward and it creates these pushing opportunities. Now here we have a Republique right in front of us. So he gets one gun over the bow, hits us with all 4 shells, gets 2 fires immediately. And it's not like he shot my superstructure there. He shot the bow and got 2 fires somehow. But we take advantage of the fact that Republique is one of the few French ships that actually does have a large superstructure, and we absolutely punish his superstructure immediately, which is pretty nasty. Now, obviously, he's in trouble. He's being shredded by Final Boss over the mountain. He can't do anything about that. We are actually being tagged from somebody in the distance who I have a pretty good assumption is a Yami. We go for superstructure once again, and we absolutely wreck him. This is a prime example of how you use the Montana to annihilate bow-in opponents who you don't overmatch. And notice, I didn't load HE, did I? You aim superstructure. You take advantage of that. And the sheer accuracy and volume of fire that you're going to land on target will do the rest. And just like that, we're the first one to kill anybody. It's a Republique, arguably one of, if not the best, Tier 8 battleship in the game. But against the sheer volume and accuracy that is the Montana, he was pretty much useless. He had no chance. And obviously there are people behind us as well that help, which I believe one of them is at least one of them is Yami. Now here, we're already looking. We've got an Alaska here parked angled to us, so we take the shot over there. Look at the accuracy once again. Front guns only, and we're going to land at least 4 shells here. And in fact, we only need to land 3 of those shells, and one of them is a Citadel, and he goes down. So, again, it's one of those situations we wouldn't be in this crossfire had we not moved forward. And now, not only are we in the crossfires for the enemy teams, but we are also in a position to capture the base, which helps in the event of a domination match like we are currently in. Now, we take advantage of our second heal. We're going to be able to get all the way back up to just basically having lost 10,000 hit points. But that leaves us with a single heal. We've got a Yami out there. We got a broadside gross occur first. I salivate anytime I see a occur first because it's just easy damage. No matter where you shoot this thing, you're going to be able to just absolutely shred it, especially if you got a broadside. But if they go bow in, you shred the superstructure. If they go broadside, you just punish them for 20 to 30k. No matter where they're at, you could just hit them for 20 to 30,000 damage. And that's why I say GK definitely not my favorite at the tier, even though supposedly, according to Wargaming, that GK has the highest battle impact on the matches, and I think that's probably because there's less people playing it, so the people that are playing it are generally better at the game. So it skews the stats in the GK's favor in that sense. Same thing happened to the Amagi back in the day. The Amagi was never the most amazing battleship in the world, but good players were very good in it. And so that's what ultimately led to the Amagi getting nerfed. Here, we don't want to fire right away because he's in the middle of a turn, but as soon as he stops turning and opening the angle, we go ahead and take advantage of that superstructure again. We just place the shot where we're going to land into a superstructure, another 13,000 damage. What does he get back? 4,600. And that's a perfect example, once again, of just showing the belt, getting the shot out, and then using the steering gears to be able to get turned back in and angle against all of the shells that come in, and they just auto bounce and shatter. They've got nothing. And then what are we going to be able to do? Well, we're going to turn here again. We're going to aim for superstructure and potentially the rear front gun, the second gun. And because the GK also has a nasty affinity for getting citadeled if you shoot at that second gun. But here, once again, just a disgusting hit into the superstructure. Final boss makes a little bit of a goober here. He gets himself detected and does the Mino thing of just trying to smoke up and stop. And definitely very fortunate for him not to be just outright removed there. And I'm actually a little worried, and I'm not going to fire my guns right away because I don't want boss to die because of me. If I get spotted while I'm in his smoke screen and they shoot at me, they're going to kill him. So rather than fire immediately, I wait until I pass him so that he's not going to get shot, and then we absolutely smash the superstructure. Final boss gets the kill. And we're up to 131,000 damage. Now, Yami over here, I wish I'd have seen this a little bit sooner. I was worried about the GK pushing up on Final in a smoke screen. GK has 6-kilometer sonar, and, you know, Mino also has a smoke firing penalty of 6 kilometers. So, Final was very close to being finished off there. So we wanted to protect our little buddy. We do just that. We make sure we go past him before we open fire. We farm the superstructure once again. And then once again, rather than just going straight after the Yami, we get into the center cap to potentially get some more XP here. We are going to slow down. We're already in full reverse, waiting for this Yami to come forward. We could already tell what his plan was. And like I said, there is a Yami over here on our side. And you can see they're punishing him pretty good here. But we're just using auto-aim here. We're waiting for our opportunity. We give it a couple of extra seconds to clear the island, and as soon as we do, that's the end of a Yami. Once again, just showcasing, you know, paying attention, map awareness, using you know, crossfires to the best of your advantage. And look at the people that were on my side, where they're at compared to where I'm at. Like, they went all the way around the outside, and now they've got nothing to do out there. Meanwhile, we've come in here, we've got 2 assist caps, and we've managed to completely rip apart the enemy's team. Like, they've got no shot. Now, Yoshino here is actually going to do a pretty good job. I underestimate how fast the Yoshino is traveling, and so my shot's not going to be the best here on this Yoshino. Definitely underestimated how quickly he was going to get moving. First shot looked pretty good, but we ended up not getting a whole lot out of it. Second shot, definitely he sped up, and our shots mostly fall short. But it doesn't matter. He's going to go down. That's going to be the end of the game. But we finished this second game. A perfect showcase of creating and taking advantage of those crossfires, farming superstructures. Never have I switched to HE yet, right? Not once. Haven't had to. Even against bow-in battleships, I haven't had to switch to HE because you can farm the superstructure for 20,000 plus damage a shot. Even if you're hitting for 15,000. 15,000 damage is like a free citadel. Now, you can see we do message Final Boss here. Just a nice little, you know, recognize, you know, he played well. And the Des Moines I would have messaged here too, but Des Moines is on PlayStation, so I can't message him. But he played really well as well. So, final match here is going to be on Haven, and once again, we're going to showcase why it's important to win your side and to create those crossfires. Watch what my team does in this next fight, and then watch what I do in this next fight. And it's also going to be a perfect example of being able to use the islands as a battleship. A lot of people don't use island cover as a battleship. And you can use the island cover without just parking behind the island and sitting stationary and complaining that people aren't spotting for you or aren't, you know, actively, like, supporting you. Like, use your battleship for what it is. Now here, right off the bat, you're going to see that I'm not actually playing right away. I think this is one of those times where I accidentally, like, walked away from the camera for a second so that I could go get a drink or use the bathroom or so on. And we start this one a little bit late, which is dangerous because, you know, your spotting range is still the majority of this map. So, fortunately, once again, we do not have any destroyers in this match, so that's huge for us. We don't have to worry about that threat. However, there are plenty of battleships out there that could easily annihilate us in a Montana if we give them the opportunity. We are not going to give them the opportunity. We are going to turn out initially. Notice that our cruiser commander here is decided he wants to go in and die. This is a terrible idea. In a cruiser, you can probably get away with this a little bit if you have a smoke screen. But he's in a Worcester. He doesn't have a smoke screen. And speaking of Worcester, there's an enemy Worcester. And when he made this turn, I was almost 100% positive that I was going to death strike this man. But I don't quite lead him enough. We end up hitting a little too far to the rear. We do get one citadel, but not enough. We end up overpinning him 5 times. Real unfortunate, but you can see our Worcester, their Worcester, both in bad ways. This is why you can't just rush forward willy-nilly into the open like that, especially in a cruiser that doesn't have a get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, you can see I'm looking at Marlborough back there, but this Worcester beached himself. We're not going to let him get away with it. Our Worcester goes down. Big surprise. Their Worcester's going to follow in 3, 2, 1, bonk. So, yeah. Got to get rid of that DPM right off the bat. Now, that leaves only one cruiser left on their team to potentially rain fire on us. And you can see he does have shells still falling. Despite the fact that he's already dead, he's still got shots coming in on us. But we get away from that. Now, we're going to be on the outside flank. Now, look at my team. We've got 2 guys in the center of the decap holding their flank against a potential Yami push. We've got me moving around the outside edge, which is a huge play. It's a time-consuming one, and if it's not executed, like if you're not just going full forward the entire time, this long play could backfire. But basically, I'm betting on the enemy getting overconfident here. Our team's not pushing them, so that generally means they're going to push up. Okay, right? Like, you don't want to just sit there and not be able to shoot anything, right? That most people don't let that happen. So we're going to try to put ourselves in a position where we can create a crossfire, especially with this Yami. If we can get rid of this Yami, that's a big advantage for our team. Because, again, everybody knows Yami is incredibly powerful. It is very, very easy for a Yami to go off and have 250+ thousand damage. Okay? Very easy. So easy I can do it. Like, it's crazy. I know. But we reach out, we go for the superstructure. Again, not the best first shot here, underestimating how fast he was going, or overestimating how fast he was going. We didn't hit much of the superstructure. We ended up hitting the guns, and it's just not a very good angle. Now, this is going to go and showcase some of the weakness of the Montana. Now, obviously, we know we don't have 16-inch guns, and at this angle, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can get through the front side plating and into the citadel of the Yami. And we hit where we want. We actually wreck him, but we didn't get the citadel, unfortunately. And I think the reason we didn't get the citadel is we're just a little bit too far out, and we didn't hit quite where we wanted. We ended up hitting a little bit high on the side plating there. But the more that we stretch this angle out, I mean, he can't angle against us and the guys off his bow. Like, he can't. He's got to choose. And I'm only one ship, so he chooses to bow tank them. And that leaves me over here to farm all of his hit points. And we aim a little bit higher this time because we know that his belt's there, and we actually hit his belt. Not the best shot by me by far. Like, it was just a terrible shot by me. Hitting into the thickest part of his armor. That's what I'm telling you guys to use on the Montana. Got to use that belt armor because, you know, it's the only way that you have advantage against these guys. So, once again, look at where I'm aiming. I don't want to hit the belt armor. I want to hit just in front of the front gun if we can. It looked like he was reversing, so that's why I aimed right at the front gun here. But there, we finally get the shot we want into that cheek, getting the citadels on the Yami. Took 3 salvos to do it, but we eventually get the shot that we want. Now, we're looking over here. We've got a Stalingrad who just beached, and I'm, again, salivating here because, I mean, this guy's full broadside, 18.3 kilometers, so these are going to be coming down basically flat, like, straight down at this range. And I, again, underestimate just how fast this man's going to get into reverse. Propulsion mod is one of those things that does do work. But even if we don't get the shot we want, we still do a little bit of damage to him and leave him for the rest of the team. Now, our team managed to die except one battleship here at the Delta Cap. This game is going the wrong way in a hurry, folks. We have 109,000 damage. The enemy is currently trying to capture a base, and other than that, like, we are losing this fight. But it's still within reach, and a couple of good shots can completely change the course of the battle. Now, that Stalingrad losing the good chunk of his health there, most likely due to a Yami, but most likely, like, God, my brain just shut off. The Stalingrad losing a good chunk of his health there has made him a very easy kill. So I don't necessarily need to prioritize him, though if we do get an opportunity to finish him off, I will take it just to get him off the board. But we have crossfires. These guys are not paying attention to their map. Montana is like just sailing straight forward. He's using the island cover to protect him from our Yami, and he's trying to close the distance. And what he's failing to realize is that there is another Montana, aka me, on his full broadside, ready to annihilate him at the first chance we get. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't get spotted again until he's slightly angled away. But it doesn't matter because we're going to slap the crap out of him here. Didn't quite aim far enough forward once again. That's on me. That's not the ship. That was just my aim. If I aimed a little bit further forward, there's a good chance that we actually get more than the 2 citadels there. But it doesn't matter. We took half his hit points just like that. And that is the importance of crossfires. You got to be able to create those crossfires. Now here, I have decided to move up into the cap. I'm also trying to maintain, you know, situational awareness. I know the Marlboro's out here on my right, and I'm kind of waiting for an opportunity. We're using auto-aim here to try to take the shot over the island. It is now tied up. They managed to kill the Stalingrad. We've got a shot over the island on the Marlboro. 3 overpins on the Marlboro. So I'm guessing we hit the superstructure of the Marlboro. But we're going to go ahead and try to get into the cap. We're not spotted right now because Marlboro's behind the island, but as soon as he comes out from behind the island, he's going to spot us. I'm not particularly scared of a Marlboro, especially in a Montana. He is literally a potential one-shot kill for me at any moment if he stays broadside. And I want to give him the idea that he can stay broadside to me. So I'm not even going to look at him. I check him initially, and then I go straight back to trying to hit the superstructure of the Montana, as we've already discussed. Being able to farm the superstructure is a huge bonus to your team. And we don't get the biggest hit into the superstructure, but we do manage to take a chunk off of him, and that makes him a very easy kill from here on out. And he goes out, he fires a full broadside at one of our ships, and they should easily be able to finish him off, and they do. Now, Marco Polo out here in the distance is a thing. The Marlboro, to his credit, is trying to use armor piercing on us. Then he goes full on for the turn in. He's not an idiot. He knows that if he stays broadside, he's a dead man. And there's a perfect example of the Marlboro's armor coming in clutch. We aimed high, but he turned towards us, meaning he managed to put his armor in a position to stop those rounds rather than where I wanted them to go. And here you can see I'm looking at, okay, we've got a potential ram here coming from the Marlboro, and we've got a Marco Polo. So if I'm going to kill the Marlboro anyway, because he's probably going to ram me, I'm going to go for the broadside look at a Marco Polo. And I get the majority of the health off of both of them in that situation. And fortunately, we get the shot off on the Marco Polo. We're going to absolutely clap him. And you can see over 10,000 damage there. We're turning into this because I want to outturn his guns. Like, I'm not trying to ram him here. I'm just trying to get past him, outturn his guns so that he doesn't get the broadside into me. He does, I think, shoot at the rear of my ship here, but neither of us able to take advantage of that broadside. I got 10,000 damage on the Marco Polo, and now, at this point, the Marlboro needs to understand that he cannot continue this turn. I can. I have the armor to defend me against his little 14-inch guns. I have the power. And if he over-angles, he's a dead man. And as soon as I see the over-angle, it's over. Like, it's gone. You don't survive that in a Marlboro. You just don't. And just like that, we're at 223,000 damage. There's very few people left in this game. Marco over there is almost gone. Our team did enough on the other side of the map. We managed to take advantage of the huge crossfires that we created, and we absolutely turned the tide of this fight. Now, there's a Conqueror still out here all the way in the back of the map, so that shows how effective he's probably been this entire time. While his team is getting annihilated, he's probably not been able to shoot at anything, or if he has been shooting at things, you know, he's clearly taken some hits, but Ariami ends up getting his high caliber finally. We're moving towards the B cap, but we're actually moving for this little gap in the islands because I seen where he was. I knew I could land this shot, and as soon as we get into that gap, look at him. He's turning. He doesn't even see it coming, and that is a beautifully placed shot into the superstructure for the easy kill. So we end up with 4 kills, over 225,000 damage. Another prime example of utilizing the Montana to great degree. 225,000, 4 kills, 73 targets hit, 10 citadels, top of the leaderboard, 3,000 base XP. Would have gotten more XP if we'd actually stayed in the cap, but at the end of the day, we did what we had to do, and we pull it off. So hopefully this kind of helps you guys that are struggling with the Montana figure out how you need to utilize this a little bit better. Open those angles up. Let people get complacent. Let them shoot at your belt armor. You don't always need to fire right away. You can also wait for people to make mistakes, take advantage of that. Like, there's so much nuance in World of Warships Legends that most players just don't get. And I think that hopefully this video will help some of you get to the bottom of how you should be playing the Montana and how you can take advantage of the Montana's incredible accuracy. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.